Welcome to Section 420, Talkin Yankees, the podcast. Well, we have round one, the first installment of the 2025 Subway Series, which will be at Yankee Stadium. So I figure use this episode to kind of do a little preview, a little tail of the tape of both teams coming in there. We'll do all the pitching matchups, where you can watch the games, the weather, the whole 9 yards, and kind of my take on what's going to happen in terms of this will be now Juan Soto's first appearance at Yankee Stadium after turning the Yankees down in the offseason to go join the Mets, and kind of how I feel the Yankee Stadium crowd will react. So get into the whole thing, but before we get started, make sure you subscribe to this podcast, Section 420 Talkin Yankees, the podcast. Get these cool little updates, episodes, news and notes, and throughout the regular season and off season. Got to be a podcast subscriber. Can't get anywhere else. And you also want to check out the visual version, the YouTube version of the show. So right after, make sure you go to YouTube, search for Section 420 Talkin Yankees, subscribe there as well. Just dropped the latest episode yesterday. Kind of got into some other off-field news stuff, mainly with Pete Rose now taking off the ineligible list, which will now make him eligible for the Hall of Fame, which you'll probably get in. And kind of my whole take on that. So in case you missed that, you want to catch that content as well, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel and catch that latest episode. But getting back to the Mets and the Yankees matching up there. So the Mets will be the visiting team at Yankee Stadium. Standard 3 games there. So kicks off, that will be Friday night. That's 7 o'clock game. If you're a Yankee fan, you're going to probably want to watch it on Yes. The Mets are offering those people out there who still don't have cable or satellite and just want to go with the free TV way if that even exists. So the Mets will offering you a free game. So that's on WPIX if you want to just catch the Mets announcers just to get a little different vibe. Then, of course, then you go on Saturdays, a standard 1 o'clock game in the afternoon. That'll be on Yes and an SNY, depending where you want to watch. 1 o'clock game. And last but not least, the national game will be the ESPN, the standard ESPN Sunday night game. So that's at 7 o'clock on ESPN. Sometimes we would see a lot of times Fox would grab the Saturday game and sometimes make that a night game, and you have 2 night games sometimes the Subway Series, but it looks like Fox will keep their hands off this one. They might usually see Fox games maybe more towards like later, more in the summer, so maybe they'll grab the other installment of the Subway Series, which is in July, and that's those ones at Citi Field there, so we'll see how that breaks out. But as for both teams coming in here, Mets with a little bit of a better record, standing right now at 28-16. Compared to the Yankees 25-18. I mean, they're comparatively just about the same, but the Mets are a few games better. However, even though both of them are leading their divisions, the Yankees have a little bit of a bigger margin. So right now the Mets are in first place in the NL East, ahead by 2.5 games. Yankees also in first place in the AL East, but their margin a little bit bigger at 3.5 games ahead. And if you want to look at the pitching matchups, look, if you're someone you're a Yankee fan, but you don't really know the Mets that much, you don't watch many games about it, a lot of names maybe you're not too familiar with, so especially with the starting pitchers there, so I'll kind of give you the matchups there. So it'll be Taylor McGill going up against, who's a righty, going up against the lefty Carlos Rodon, so that kicks it off for the Yankees. Again, Rodon overall has been pitch running much better for the Yankees. Had a bit of hard luck. Previous start against San Diego there. Fortunately, Devin Williams and Luke Weaver ended up, it was more Devin Williams for blowing the game for him. But again, overall, you say Rodon overall in a better place pitching-wise there, so you like that the matchup for the Yankees there. Second game, you have Griffin Canning, who you might, who is he? Well, he's pitching for the Mets right now. He's a righty with a record right now of 5-1 and a really good ERA of 2.36, going against Clark Schmidt. So at least numbers-wise, you would say maybe the Mets, at least starting pitching-wise, has a little bit of an advantage there. And then, of course, in the finale, a couple of lefties going at it, and that'll be David Peterson, the lefty going against the Yankees ace right now, and the Yankees probably best pitcher overall, Max Fried. And Max Fried got a little bit of a hard luck situation in Seattle the other day. Obviously he had that rough second inning. He only surrendered 1 run there, but it was a game that the Yankee offense really do much for him. Yankees would tie the game up late there, but then losing extra innings there. But Max Fried, pitched well enough to should have gotten a win, but again, the offense really do much, and he wasn't really able to give it much length there. But overall, Max Fried having a really good season for the Yankees there. So again, overall, you would like that matchup, especially you're going to get Max Fried, the lefty, going against Juan Soto again on ESPN Baseball Sunday night. It doesn't get really better than that. And again, with some of the other Mets, if you haven't been paying attention there, some of the usual names. So Pete Alonso right now hitting 311. I know that he got off to a really good start, but still 311 is pretty darn good with 9 home runs. Lindor, as we know, when he first joined the Mets, had some issues, and fans were getting on him, but right now having a good start to the season, hitting 297. And some familiar name such as McNeil, he might, been with the Mets for a while there, scuffling a little bit, hitting right now at 244. And of course, Juan Soto, who we've been documenting both here and kind of poking some fun with a little bit on the YouTube version of the show, hitting right now at 255. Again, getting base hits, getting on base, but still not the Juan Soto they were probably expecting, not compared to how he was with the Yankees about a year ago. This time when he was hitting like 340, in fact, there was whispers like, is this guy going to finish the season hitting 400? Well, he didn't do that good, but still much better than 255 there. And of course, at Yankee Stadium, watch him have a big breakout game and just go nuts there. But, we'll see how that all works out of there. And as how I think at least the crowd's going to react to Soto. Yeah, I think there'll be a mix. I think there'll be a smattering of boos. Of course, you can have a lot of Met fans who are going to be in the stadium because, the way it is at StubHub, you can just, obviously everyone's in everyone else's ballpark. And I'm sure that the 7 train group and all those people will be out there in the outfield like that. So you'll have enough Met fans in the crowd as well as Yankee fans, how that all hashes out. We know how all that works there. But as for getting back to Soto, I think initially it'll be some boos, but I just don't think it's going to be a real hateful, nasty boo. It's like, look, we all knew what he was. He was a 1-year rental. Yes, you kind of spurned and disappointed he selected the Mets over the Yankees in that regard. Yeah, but I think it's a little different. And you want to look back to the whole Cano situation. When Cano, left the Yankees to go to Seattle and he really got hammered by boos. I think that's a little different when you had a guy that came up through your system. You think he's going to be a future second baseman and maybe one of the greatest Yankee second basemen of all time. You have all these, aspirations. He was here. He won a championship with you and all that stuff there. And then he bowls for Seattle. I think you're more upset with that versus Soto being here for 1 year. And so all right, look, he had a really good season for you. He helped get you to the World Series. I know the Yankees looked a little overmatched at times against the Dodgers there, but overall, he kind of did his part there. And as a human being, you can't blame him for taking a bigger offer. And if he really wanted to stay here, I think the Yankee offer was good enough to keep him here. But nevertheless, Mets giving him more years, more money, and some of these perks like the luxury suite for the family and all other stuff, and having security and all these other things we're hearing about, and bells and whistles that he added that. Hey, you can't really blame the guy for that. Is it a good character look in some ways? Maybe not. But also, you just, again, you just can't really blame the guy for taking a bigger offer there. So I don't think, maybe it's the first at bat, maybe gets a lot of boos. And after that, I think it just kind of just kind of quiets down a little bit, and it becomes just like anybody else, And we look back with some, when the Yankees would go to Fenway, like when Johnny Damon went back to Fenway in the Yankee uniform, or Jacoby Ellsbury went back to Fenway in a Yankee uniform. It was kind of mixed reaction. They got some cheers, some boos, and then after that, people just got over it and just carried on there. So I don't think it's going to be too much. I don't think it's going to be nasty. I don't think the bleach creature is going to be throwing batteries and stuff at Soto. And I know earlier this year there was the F Soto chants that we heard, through the Yankee Stadium crowd, but I kind of got into that, that was up during a blowout a game where, the crowd isn't into it anymore. They're not even paying attention, look at their phone. So you get a group of people that vocalize a little bit, and then maybe that gets picked up on the radio or on the TV, a little audio than it normally would when the game's has a little more juice to it. So I think it was that, more, nothing else. I don't think there's going to be these big F Soto chants or anything big crazy. He seemed to enjoy his time out there in right field with the Yankee fans and the bleacher creatures. So I don't think there's going to be too much hate there. There'll just be a little smattering of boos, and that's about it. Again, he wanted to come here. He kind of said during the year, hey, it's up to Steinbrenner. The ball's in his court. So the Yankees just chose to offer the offer they did, and Stevie Cohen made the offer that he did, and he took the Cohen offer, man. I just don't think there'll be too much viciousness and bad blood really beyond that. It's not like he really said anything bad. Just, it's just the little things that you just figure, you just almost like for himself, it's like, his legacy and his career would have been much better off had he been doing what he's doing. He'd be in the Yankee uniform versus the Met uniform. But, of course, again, if he strikes out, if he misplays the ball in the right field, yeah, a little extra ha-ha-ha, but that's about it. I just don't think he's going to get brutalized too much by the Yankee Stadium crowd. Again, and it goes a lot of people in there also going to be Met fans cheering him on as well. So any Yankee boos will probably be also a little drowned out a little bit by some Met fan cheers there. So that. And in terms of who wins the games, I don't know. I mean, the only thing you want to do in these series is not get swept. That's about it. Whether you take 2 out of 3 or they take 2 out of 3, it really doesn't matter. I mean, it's not like you're going to face this team unless we get to a World Series. And of late, I would say in later years, even though, take last season aside, the Mets had themselves a good deep postseason run. Even though the Yankees have been more successful overall, you would say, but it seems like the Mets have been taking a lot of these Subway Series matchups during the regular season orphans. So if the Yankees maybe want to see to reverse that trend, I don't think it'll be as fun, as exciting as it was in the late 90s and early 2000s when you had like Mike Piazza and Paul O'Neill and John Olerud, kind of like that crowd going back and forth, and Al Leiter, and Roger Clemens, of course, and like Manny Pettit. Like, it just seemed like the Subway Series was a little bit more fun back then, and then over the past couple of years, it's kind of been In fact, you hear some voices saying maybe they should just do away with it, or maybe only have it once every 3 years or stuff like that. But, with the money and attention it generates, that was never going to go away. You can almost say even the 6 games is overkill a little bit. Maybe originally it used to be 3 games and then you'd alternate ballparks throughout the years there. But again, it brings a lot of attention. It's fun to the game, fun for the fans. So whatever, it's here to stay. And again, maybe now with Soto joining the Mets there, and again, the Mets having guys like, Lindor and Alonso hitting well, and Alvarez, and there's some new faces there. Maybe it reignites, or, Clay Holmes now, former Yankee now as a Met there. Obviously, he's not going to pitch in this particular series. But again, maybe it adds a little juice so it gets back to like the way it was in the late 90s and early 2000s when it seemed like they're a little bit more fun with big name players involved there. So we'll see if this brings a whole renaissance to the Subway Series. So that's the matchup. First game will be Friday evening. There'll be Rendon on the mound. Now, as for the weather, New York the past couple of days, you've been around here. It's kind of been just a little bit of a dank, kind of a lot of fog, not cold, but like high 60s. It's going to rain. It's not going to rain. It mists a little bit and it stops misting. It kind of seems like it's going to be the weather for at least the Friday and Saturday games. Sunday right now looks like all pretty much sunny with a couple of clouds in the air, but I don't think there seems to be any risk really with the Friday game. So it looks like Friday in the morning, there might be a little bit of a downpour there. So by the later part of the day, it should just be a little cloudy in the air with like kind of a threat of a mist. It seems like maybe a 15 to 30% chance of rain, but this might be one of those things where it's just like a dank sort of day. So they should be able to get the game in. Saturday, it looks like there's going to be some scattered thunderstorms, at least early on around 11 o'clock there. So does it maybe threaten the 1 o'clock start a little bit? But again, if anything, it seems like the rain will come early. By 1 o'clock, it should be okay. And again, even if you have to wait an hour or two to start the game, I don't think that should be a problem. I think this is a good thing that both teams are in town. They're both New York teams. If even the case happens, they could also potentially, if it's a Saturday game, ends up getting washed out for some reason, which I don't think it would, you do have the potential of having a doubleheader then on Sunday again, because you already have the Sunday night game at 7 o'clock locked in. So if you have the first game at 1 o'clock or 4 o'clock, you can still pull that off there. So if the teams do have to do a doubleheader for Sunday, that's still a possibility. But it looks like overall, you should be able to get these three games in as scheduled. So it's the matchup. Round one at Yankee Stadium. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how the Yankee faithful and the Yankee fans and the Met fans also in the crowd react to Soto there. I guess that'll catch all the old eyes there. And of course, the marquee matchup will probably be the Sunday ESPN game. Max Fried and Peterson, the two lefties going at it there, with Fried going up against Soto. Again, that'll probably be the biggest matchup probably of the entire weekend. So catch you next time.